Hello! So today I'm going to be talking about Prophet Song by Paul Lynch, my 12th read from the Booker long list. It's Booker season, baby. Set in Dublin, we follow a scientist and mother of four, Eilish Stack. Late at night, she gets a knock on her door, and in front of her are two officers from Ireland's newly formed secret police. They have arrived to interrogate her husband, a trade unionist. Ireland is falling apart, caught in the grip of a government that is turning towards tyranny. The life Eilish knows, the one that she loves, is slowly disappearing before her eyes. Eilish must contend with the dystopian logic of her new unravelling country. How far will she go to save her family, and what and who is she willing to leave behind? Now, this might not make any sense to you because they're not that similar, but this did give me Study for Obedience vibes in the sense that this book is all about the feeling and the tone it creates. The ideas in this novel are not new, nor really is its plot. The list of novels about dystopian police states is so vast, with the absolute top hitter of course being 1984. Novels about survival and escaping the horrors of war are also vast. There are so many choices out there, so many brilliant choices. Another book that gave me a very similar vibe to Prophet Song would be As If I Am Not There, which I think has also been entitled S. This book also focuses on a woman. We are so totally connected to her and the horrors of war and how everything around her just keeps escalating and escalating and escalating. However, this book is much, much darker than Prophet Song. I mean, a lot darker than Prophet Song. This book is brutal, and this book is also based on fact, so therefore what you are reading hits that little bit harder. Quick shout out to Kieran from KD Books for putting me onto this one. What a horrifying experience it was. But what I'm trying to say is that what this book is doing isn't necessarily new. But Paul Lynch has absolutely nailed, and I mean nailed, the feeling and tone in this one. Quite masterful, really. The events of the building police state and everything that's happening around Eilish is gradual, but we are so in her head. We are so connected to her that as everything starts to build, as the tension starts to rise, I felt the hairs on my arms sticking up. I was utterly gripped. Without ruining too much, the balancing act of Eilish's frustrations are a father who is suffering with Alzheimer's but refuses help, a son who wants to join the rebellion, and a husband who has been taken, leaving her all alone. She also has a newborn baby. If I was to point out a few movies that gave me the exact same feeling reading this book gave me, then you've got films like Empire of the Sun, Greenland, Children of Men, and the TV show Years and Years. So if you've seen any of those films and yet to read this book, yes, those films, the tension you feel, that build, that dread is equally matched when reading this book. But in fact, it's better because being able to achieve that feeling of tension, being able to achieve that feeling of dread and frustration from just words on the page, for me, is infinitely more better than what is achieved on screen. Right, let's quickly address the elephant in the room, which is Paul Lynch's formatting choices. We pretty much get dense blocks of text with very little paragraph breaks, which is not my favourite. We also get 0 speech marks with this one. I'm not too bothered by that one. I've read enough Cormac McCarthy in order to get really used to that style. And actually, for me, I think the mark of a great writer is someone who doesn't use speech marks, yet I am never, ever confused as to who is talking. And whilst reading this book, I was never, ever confused as to who was saying what. But that doesn't stop the fact that some readers do have issues with both of those choices and might put a lot of people off. I've said this on the channel before, but I am dyslexic. When I was very young, I used to look at a block of text and the letters would literally dance on the screen like a cartoon. You'd look at the word and the letters would start going, and it took years for me to train my brain to squish those letters back into a word. I had to work really, really hard and I got there and now I'm sort of fine. But I do suffer with dyslexia, so therefore dense blocks of text has never ever been my favourite. But I'm going to tell you now, with this book, I don't know why, I had not that big an issue with it. But again, there might be people who suffer with dyslexia who want to read this book and they just can't because of the way it's formatted. My best guess for why Paul Lynch decided to do this would be that it does create an overwhelming feeling for the reader, the dense text in front of you. And that feeling perfectly matches Eilish's feeling throughout the entirety of this novel. That would be my reason for why this choice was made. Right, what did I like and what didn't I like? What I liked. I love the writing and the pacing all the way through. The plot moves along nicely, giving us a good balance between the mundane, everyday events of Eilish's life, along with the escalating and terrifying things happening around her. Just an excellent build that felt really realistic. We get a solid connection to all of the secondary characters, and I've said it already, but the tone and the feeling and the tension in this one are just fantastic. It's a novel that's not reinventing the wheel at all, but it's doing what it does to an excellent standard all the way through. I always enjoy dystopian novels that feel like they could take place in a year's time as opposed to the distant future, and I think this novel does that. It just gets it spot on. I've seen some people have complained that they were annoyed or frustrated at some of Eilish's choices or her lack of choices. However, I didn't get that at all. I think Paul Lynch has done a fantastic job of justifying all of the reasons why Eilish is doing what she's doing. I felt so in her head that when maybe she made a decision that I didn't particularly agree with, I understood why she was making that decision. It all had logic to me. It all connected. It all felt real. What didn't I like? Two things. So coming back to the formatting choices that I laboured over earlier, I am going to draw a line in the sand and say that I actually don't think it was necessary. I did get into it, and I was lucky enough with my dyslexia to have zero issues with it whatsoever. And as said, I do not mind lack of speech marks at all. I never ever had a problem following who was saying what and when. But I think everything this novel is trying to achieve, what it's trying to do, can be achieved without this formatting choice. So I'm going to say, yeah, that's a little bit of a dislike. And my biggest dislike would be, I am not too sure what this book is trying to say other than the absolute obvious. For some people that won't matter. Being in Eilish's head, going on this journey, the tension, the feeling and the tone will be more than enough. And I don't think this book is trying to be anything more than experiential. But to make this book an out-and-out 5 stars for me, I do need to know what this book is trying to say about the events that are taking place. But overall, I thought this book was excellent and in some moments fantastic. So I'm going to give it the highest rating I think I've given a book on the Book Along list so far. I'm going to give it 4 to 4.5 stars out of 5. Without a doubt, my favourite read from the Book Along list. I've only got one book left, Pearl, but I'm currently halfway through that. And yeah, it's not going to be better than this one for me, so I'm probably going to end up with this being my favourite. Roll up, and let's play Burnham Copperhead. Is this book better than Birnam Wood and Demon Copperhead? No, but it's the only book that's got very, very close. Right, everybody, I am so close now to finishing the Booker long list. As already mentioned, I've got one book left, and that's Pearl, and then I am done. And then I'll do a sort of a wrap-up tier list video after that. We're nearly there, everybody. We're nearly there. So, have you read Prophet Song by Paul Lynch? And if so, what did you think about it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Please let me know in the comments below. I want to thank you all so much for watching, and as always, I hope you're well, and I'll see you all on the next one.